right, let's try this again. I think we were having some technical difficulties. Good morning, everybody. My name is Erin, and I am the store manager here at Dances with Wool in Midlothian, Virginia. Debbie just gave me the thumbs up, so we're live actually now. Yay! We are located just outside the city of Richmond in Central Virginia, and this is our weekly Inspire Me segment where we talk about a yarn that's in the shop or a particular project that's caught our eye. Just give you a chance to get some inspiration as you head into your weekend. As always, I'd like to remind you that we are open for in-person shopping here at the store. Our hours are Tuesday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can also find most of what we have online in our web store. Debbie's linking our website address down below. We know that the state mandate for mask wearing indoors has been lifted in Virginia for those who are fully vaccinated. We do still recommend masks for shopping in the store just because we know not everybody has been, but if you have been fully vaccinated, a mask is not absolutely required. We just want to try to keep everybody safe as they shop with us. You, as I said, can shop online with us. We do still offer our virtual shopping appointments via Zoom if you're not local and want some assistance with shopping, help picking out colors or things, or you want to shop a consignment item or a trunk show, which we don't list on our website. You can schedule those appointments right on our website. There's a banner at the top of the page that you can click. So, the other thing I wanted to point out to you that our social stitch groups are back in shop. So we offer two a week, Tuesday mornings from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. and then Thursday evenings from 6 to 8 p.m. So if you are local, we would love for you to come on out and join us. The groups are very friendly and everybody was really excited to be back in the shop this week and see each other. So we encourage you to come on out and join us for those if you're in the area. So today we want to talk about a company out of France that we carry, Biches, which they offer a range of non-superwash yarns. So we want to talk about those this morning. We have some in the shop already. We have a large restock coming. It is We know the box actually made it across the ocean and is in the United States. It just hasn't quite been delivered yet, but we wanted to go ahead and still talk about what you can do with Biches. So what we carry in the store are their Petit Lambswool, which is a fingering weight, non-superwash Scottish lambswool. It's 100% Scottish lambswool. So lambswool is not a particular breed of sheep. Lambswool just refers to the fact that the wool for these yarns is typically from the first shearing that the sheep has had. So the sheep is usually a year old or maybe a little bit younger. So typically that first fleece that a sheep grows is a little bit finer and softer than what you will get from them for subsequent shearings as they get older. So that is what it is. It's not a particular breed, but it is a first shearing wool, so it's a little bit finer and softer. The wool is raised in Scotland. The yarn is milled and dyed in France. And they do these beautiful kind of heathery sort of colorways. Really, really gorgeous stuff. The Lambswool, the Petit Lambswool, is 270 yards per 50 gram skein. So these are slightly smaller skeins, but they've got still a good amount of yardage. It is basically a light, fingering on the lighter side of things. What we also carry, in addition to that, is the Le Petit Silk and Mohair. So this is a 70% kid mohair, 30% silk yarn, and they dye it in colors to coordinate with the lambswool. So you can buy coordinating colors of the lambswool and the silk mohair. The silk mohair is a lace weight. There is 230 yards per 25 gram ball. So that's what that comes in. So that's what we have for the Biches. So what is this yarn good for? So it is non-superwash. You have to be aware of that. Obviously, anything that you make with this is going to have to be hand washed. Do not put it in your washing machine unless you want it to fit your cat. But there's lots of things that you can do. We've had this in the shop for a while. If you are a fan of Lane Lana magazine, a lot of the designs in those magazines and books are done with this yarn. And so you've probably seen quite a few things done with it. I've got 2 sweaters sitting behind me. So one of the things we talked about is, of course, getting the coordinating lambswool and silk mohair and holding them together, which is going to create a fabric that sits kind of like a heavy fingering sport. Sometimes you can work it up to like a DK weight gauge because the silk and mohair adds some fluffiness. But that's something that you see a lot of patterns of. So I've got 2 sweaters behind me. This is Flower Buds by Astrid Troland, which you heard us talk about on our last episode of This Is So Not a Podcast. That streamed on Monday and is now available to watch on our YouTube feed. This is a kind of a crop layering sweater. It's got some rib detail at the hem and just this little beautiful delicate flower bud pattern. Debbie is doing this yarn in not Biches, but the pattern was written for Biches held together with the mohair. We do have this sample of the sweater in the shop. This is actually done in just the lambswool by itself, so you can get a feel for what that would feel like just by itself, and you can do the pattern that way, but it does call for the 2 held together. This sweater is the Biches Le Petit Lambswool held together with the mohair. This is Love Note by Tin Can Knits. And Debbie did this sweater about 1.5 years ago, I think, out of the Biches lambswool and mohair held together. So this will give you a feel for what the 2 held together feel like. The mohair does add a beautiful halo to the fabric, and it does add a little touch of softness. The lambswool by itself is not super scratchy, but it is definitely more of a rustic yarn. This has got more tooth to it than just a plain superwash merino would. But it's definitely not scratchy, especially once it's washed and blocked. But the mohair does add a little bit of extra softness to it, and you can almost see this halo behind me. So those are 2 examples of holding the lambswool together with the mohair. Another technique that this is really great for is color work. So because this is a non-superwash yarn and it does have that little bit of toothiness, of stickiness to it, it makes it really, really great for color work, especially if you are not familiar with stranded color work, if you are just kind of learning still, because the yarns kind of hold on to each other. As you work them, as you strand them across the back, this is going to be a great application for this. So these is another really cute sample we have in the shop. This is actually from a class that Uta taught earlier this year. But this is a pattern called Millet by Isolde Teague. And so these are just a pair of these really cute mittens with the little star on the tip and this really great, I love the fact they've got this cuff. The cuff is not anything complicated. You're just knitting it with, there's the floats. So the stranded color work you can with 2 yarns per row, and you're carrying what you're not working with across the back, and then you just fold that down to create this little cuff. This is a great pattern because you need 3 colors. So you buy 3 skeins of the Biches Le Petit Lambswool. You can actually make 2 pairs of mittens from the 3 skeins. You have lots left over. You just have to swap out your main color. So like for this pair of mittens, the red was the main color, which means most of it, that's mostly what will be gone. So you could do another pair with either the gray or the yellow as the main color and switch it up. So it's never too early, guys, to start gift knitting. I know you don't want to hear me say that, it's May, but the reality is if you don't want to be crunched in November, you can go ahead and get started now. And Millet would be a great gift knitting idea because 3 skeins of the Le Petit Lambswool will get you 2 mittens. And so another really fun application for color work for this, of course, is the classic colorwork sweater. This is a pattern called Junction by Andrea Mowry, which came out last year. This is written for the Le Petit Lambswool to be paired with spin cycles dyed in the wool. They're sort of color shifting, non-superwash sport weight yarn. They pair nicely together, and that gives you this beautiful kind of color fade effect on the color work. Of course, we talked about spin cycle before and how you use that for your contrast color. It looks like you've used a bunch of different colors in your sweater when you've only really used two. So Junction is a great example of how to use this to pair the lambswool, which is a slightly more affordable choice, you know, with something like dyed in the wool, which is beautiful, but because of how it's made, the price point, that's going to be a little bit higher. So this would be a great thing to pair with that spin cycle to make that really pretty special sweater. And then don't overlook the idea of just knitting a beautiful shawl out of this. This is a pattern called Happenstance by Romy Hill, and this is designed to just use a non-superwash fingering weight wool yarn. This particular sample is done in a Shetland, but this would be beautiful also in the Le Petit Lambswool. And this yarn is really very, very light, the way it's spun. This is a warm yarn without being heavy. So something like a big shawl like Happenstance would keep you really, really lovely and warm without being like heavy and bulky and dragging down off your shoulders. So that's another really great use for the lambswool. So we just encourage folks to think a little bit outside the box. You know, we all love that beautiful superwash merino yarns and the speckles and things, but we want to make sure that you don't overlook for certain projects. Really, something like this is going to be your better choice. The idea of something a little more rustic, a little more heathered and tonal. This yarn is really very special. We're very, very happy that we can carry it in the shop. As I said, we have a big box, restock, new colors coming. It will get here. We're having some issues with shipping lately, but it will get here. And so we encourage you to come on in, go to our website, check out these patterns, check out what we've got. And if you have questions about best uses for something like this yarn, don't ever hesitate to ask us. So we hope everybody is going to have a great weekend. We encourage you to tune in next week to our Inspire Me next Friday at 10. We're going to be previewing the Moondrake Yarns Trunk Show that will be starting next Friday. We got our packing list from Rochelle today. She's sending some beautiful stuff. She's not sending a whole lot of it though, so you're going to want to make sure you watch the preview and that you come in here pretty much right away, Friday, Saturday next week, to check out what she's sending us. So everybody have a great weekend, and we will see you next week.